Good afternoon. Sepp Blatter, the president of football's governing body FIFA, has told the BBC he's sorry for causing offence with remarks he made about racism in the game, but he insists he won't resign.
In an exclusive interview with our sports editor David Bond, he admitted that he had used unfortunate words which he deeply regretted, that he was hurt by the reaction to his comments and said it was still hurting.
Well, 2 days ago, Sepp Blatter denied that there was any racism on the football pitch and suggested that if one player used a racial insult to another, the two should settle the dispute by shaking hands. Today, he said, he'd learnt a lesson and that players guilty of racism should be thrown out of the game.
Well, at the beginning of that interview with David Bond, Sepp Blatter read out a prepared statement.
My personal position and also FIFA stance against racism and any form of discrimination is very clear and has been very strong for many years. I started my FIFA career in Africa 36 years ago, and it is part of my core values to respect all nations, all cultures, and I see football as a game that unites people. I'm sorry, and I regret that my statements earlier this week have resulted in an unfortunate situation and has taken this dimension. I am committed to the fight against racism, and I have no doubt about that. And I want to make it very clear. I will not stop until we have stamped out of football racism.
People found it so hard to understand how you could have said something like, on the pitch, it's not racism and it can be settled with a handshake, but off the pitch, it's racism. People really found it hard to understand what you meant.
You know, I think, first of all, I was not so very clear, because I was not only touching about racism, I was touching about all foul language or what is on the field of play. But this is a detail now. What I want to say is then constructing bridges between the people, constructing bridges not only on racism but in discrimination. When I look what football has done and will do also in Palestine, with their neighbors, Israel, in the Arabic world, how football has been introduced also for women football. It's another culture. And then at a certain, I found myself pushed into a corner of a very, I would say, unfortunate words I have used, and this I deeply, deeply regret. It hurts, and I'm still hurted, because I couldn't expect or just envisage such a reaction, but the reaction is there. And when you are in a situation where you have done something which was absolutely not totally correct, otherwise it wouldn't have created this, I can only say I'm sorry for all those people. They have been affected by my declarations. And I can just ensure that my fight against racism and discrimination will go on. It will never stop.
Have you thought in the last 48 hours that you would walk away, that you might resign?
Oh no, I cannot. I cannot resign. Why should I resign? When you are faced with a problem, you have to solve the problem and to go out and to leave the organization. This would be unfair. This would be totally unfair, and is not compatible with my fighting spirit, my character, my energy, my commitment, my personal commitment to football, and my personal commitment to bring our organization, the FIFA, again in this light of credibility. We are trying to go out of a period which started last year, just 1 year ago, with some difficulties, and now we are building up. We are in the future, and I'm committed to this future. So I cannot go out because there is a serious incident, because you cannot say it's not serious, But we have to go on, I have to go on, and I am sure, and let's see how it will be the reaction, especially in the continent which is affected by this. But I'm sure we go together, and this situation now can only make us stronger by uniting all efforts. And I have to say one thing, and there I was not absolutely on my line. I have put in zero tolerance, and it should be also, and it shall be, zero tolerance on the field of play as well.
Well, that was Sepp Blatter, and the former England international John Barnes told us earlier what he thought of Sepp Blatter's belated apology.
Well, first of all, I'm not Sepp Blatter's biggest fan. And I think that Sepp Blatter should resign, but not over this particular incident in isolation. Because Sepp Blatter, as he has said, he was misunderstood, and I've listened to the interview, and maybe he was misunderstood. Maybe with what he's saying is correct. Maybe he's saying that when he's talking about discrimination and altercations between players on fields, on pitches, maybe not specifically racism, but altercations. I think that's what he was trying to say. So I'm not a Sepp Blatter fan, as I said. So in this instance, I'm with everyone else. Sepp Blatter should resign. But if you just take this incident in isolation, I think that, you know, I have to take his word for it when he said that he was misunderstood. Because I've listened to the interview. And, you know, when you do interviews in English, as a lot of foreign players get in trouble when they do interviews away, and then when it's translated into English. And so it could be misconstrued. However, as I said, I'm not a big fan of Sepp Blatter, so, you know, I think he should definitely go.
So you definitely think that he should resign, even though you believe he may have been somewhat misunderstood?
Yeah, but he shouldn't resign over this incident. All the faux pas and all the mistakes he's made in the past, allied to this, that's why he should go. But I think a lot of people are saying solely because of this incident he should resign. And I don't think solely because of this incident he should resign.
How serious do you think the problem of racism within the game is today?
I'll tell you what we have to do. And I had a conversation on Radio 5 Live just now. We have to define what racism is. Someone was telling me that racism is any discrimination from a cultural, a religious, a colour point of view, and I'm saying, well, where does it stop? Does it then, if someone is short and fat, and they're saying any kind of discrimination? So therefore, we have to come up with a new word if we want to talk about general discrimination. We can't lump racism with all kinds of discrimination, and that is what seems to me is being done, whereby any kind of abuse is labelled racism, and for me, that belittles the plight and the serious nature of what racism actually is.
Well, that was John Barnes speaking to us just a little earlier. Our sports news correspondent James Pearce gave us his analysis of that FIFA president apology.
Not once, but twice he uttered those immortal words, "I am sorry." And I think it will be enough to take the heat off him. We should emphasise really that this is a problem of his own making, but it's one that really that's been magnified in this country. It hasn't played nearly so big around the rest of the world, but I'm sure this will be enough to take him off the front pages and perhaps some of the back pages. Sepp Blatter is a survivor, and this is, once again, I think, a very effective way of making sure that he continues.
Well, exactly on that point about being a survivor, he said in that interview, when you're faced with a problem, you have to face up to the problem. I mean, that is a tried and tested technique of Sepp Blatter, isn't it? One thinks of the corruption allegations that swirled around FIFA, exactly the same phrases he used when he was under the cosh then.
Yes, the difference between the corruption allegations and these allegations are, these are comments he made. He can blame nobody else for this, apart from himself. He blamed a number of other people for, of course, the corruption allegations earlier in the year. But he's not going anywhere. I mean, he doesn't need to go anywhere. That is the reality of it. He's not under pressure. Yes, he's under pressure in the English newspapers, but he's not under pressure anywhere else. So there's no way he's going to walk away. But for him to say I'm sorry, he knows he's taken the heat out of the situation. And I think that you'll see now, once he's done this, Sepp Blatter probably going a little bit quieter for a few weeks and resurfacing next year with perhaps his next initiative. But I think Sepp Blatter, who started this week by doing a round of international media, trying to put out his new agenda, has made a few mistakes and will just disappear, I think, probably quietly until 2012 now.
Well, that was James Pearce just a moment or two ago. Just to tell you, you can see that exclusive interview between David Bond and Sepp Blatter. You can see it in full here on BBC News at 1:30.
Now, David Cameron's arrived.